everybody, I have come on here to address my last video regarding the new documents that WTAF released regarding Charles Vallow's divorce with his first wife Cheryl. Because of those documents coupled with Lori's documents, my opinion changed. What I saw changed. Let me explain something, okay? Number one, people aren't drunks because they don't have the same opinion as you. Number two, sometimes people know what something is because they've lived it. Number three, abuse comes in patterns. It is a patternal, and you can just look, it's just like that. My mother, my grandmother, and myself were all abused when we were children. They didn't actively go search for that, but because of the abuse that they had prior, they went for men unknowingly that were abusive and turned out doing the same thing. I had to wake up to that pattern and actively make a decision not to. Number one, you can think that Lori just made everything up if you want to and just try to say that it was her doing stuff. That's fine. But the fact of the matter is, Lori was probably abused. Joseph Ryan was probably abusive. Charles Vallow was probably abusive. That doesn't matter. But the problem is, and the problem that happened with me, is that kids aren't taken seriously and that things are dismissed. Okay? I have a southern drawl apparently, and apparently I sound drunk. I am not drunk. But if I were, I am an adult with no children. So I can be that. That's the first thing, to get that out of the way. It is usually an inherited thing. It's usually a pattern in a family. There's a pattern of abuse. Clearly her sister Stacy was going through some things of her own, like with Melanie. Her eating disorder, the things that she was going through. Obviously some type of abuse happened in the Vallow, or not Vallow, well, what were they, Cox? In the Cox household. Okay? Women who have been abused as children often go for abusive men. It's not that they want to, but it's just what they're inherently drawn to. And perverts smell it on them. I had to actively wake up to the pattern in my family to keep myself from going down that same road. Okay? I know that women use allegations against men that are false. But as a child who did not receive justice, it is best to believe the child, number one. Number two, when it comes up that much, there's something to it. Obviously something happened to Colby. You can go one of two ways. You can either become the abuser or you're an advocate against it. And I think that anybody who becomes the abuser is the most evil. Number one. It is clear that there was something going on that Charles Vallow neglected to do anything about. Just because he's dead does not mean he was perfect. And doesn't mean he deserved to die either. But what it does mean is that we can't just blame Lori for Charles's mistakes. Lori is not the only individual responsible. How are Kay and Larry responsible? Well, I don't freaking know. She was super close with Lori, correct? Correct or not? Did she admit that? Yes, she did. Which means she knew the ins and outs of the inner circle of that household and allowed not one child but two children to be adopted, apparently, according to this document. When he was with Cheryl, they adopted Zach. Real weird. It's real weird. I have a few more weird things I'm going to talk about too after I get this done with. So, in light of her accusations against Colby, and then finding naked pictures on her son Cole's phone of Tylee, it tells me that Colby possibly abused Cole, and then they together abused Tylee, which makes Cole just as culpable. But it doesn't dismiss what happened to him, just like it doesn't dismiss what happened to Colby, but it doesn't excuse it either. I'm an advocate against abuse, and it is clear that neither Lori or Charles Vallow were sane individuals. Cheryl came out in defense of him, but that was for her children, and because we all glorify the dead. It just happens. Everyone wants to make Lori the only individual responsible. What she's responsible for is that too. But she's a self-absorbed, doesn't care about anybody else person. And, you know, it is what it is. She's getting, you know, she's in prison. You know? She's going to get her karma. But the state failed JJ because you have to go through a process to adopt. Both those court files should have been included in the research. But I wonder why it wasn't. Is it because their family works in the court system in Louisiana? Is that why? Is that how they were able to adopt? I don't know. Alright, so now I want to get into some things that I found. That's really interesting. So, Charles Vallow and Joseph Ryan in the same exact county, in Travis County, Texas, both of them have, both of their charges were dismissed, I want to make that clear, but in Travis County, Texas, Charles was on the 5th of May, on May the 18th, 2003, but it was dismissed, but he had an assault causes bodily harm injury, family violence. Joseph Ryan has the exact same charge that was dismissed in Travis County, Texas, but his date was 05/23/2007. It was dismissed as well, and there was an assault causes bodily injury, family violence. It's really weird. That is really, really weird to me. It is really weird that he was able to adopt 2 kids. Like, where are these kids coming from? What child of his sister are they coming from? Why does she keep having kids and not being able to take care of them? That's number 1. Number 2. Charles Vallow is associated with 4 properties in Hawaii, in Princeville, Hawaii. They're all Aloha Drive. They're 4 different addresses. And they're all from very recently, but he's associated with 4 properties there, which means he's gotten mail there, or something has linked him to those properties in Hawaii, which I find really weird. Let's see. Oh, there isn't, that I can find anywhere, there is not any marriage certificate for Lori Vallow and Charles Vallow. I'm going to look into it a little bit more, keep digging, but I haven't been able to find one. Also, Lori, she has a Facebook account under the name Steve McDowell. Steve McDowell, I've looked up this person. There's one from Independence, Utah, I think. And he is a cop, I believe. I'm going to have to look more into him. That's something else I'm going to have to look into. But, let's see. Lori, okay, so when looking into Lori, an alias that Lori has went by has been Lori A. Downey and Deborah A. Lindsay, Stephen C. Lindsay. There's another one. Charles had multiple DUI arrests, even though those mean nothing to me. I'm just saying the violence, the family, the bodily injury thing, that one was very interesting to me. Oh, and then Ian Pulowski. Ian Pulowski has a current pending charge in Indiana from April the 10th, 2019. Domestic violence violation of a protection order. And I think that is all that I have that I wanted to state right now. Sorry. Oh, my bad. But yeah. So I'm going to continue digging into this. It's really weird that Joseph Ryan and Charles Vallow both have the same exact charge that was dismissed, only years apart from each other, in the same exact county. I think that everybody should be critical thinkers, and everybody should understand, while you take accusations with a grain of salt, you take them. And where there's smoke, there's fire. And, that's all I got to say. Have a good day, y'all.